What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Javars, and thank you for stopping by. I do videos on college, menswear, and lifestyle, so if that interests you, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and comment down below. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably don't care about me nor this channel, but you want to know how to get into UGA, and I will be going over that application process, what you can expect from it, and even go over my scores and GPA when I applied. I do want to go ahead and make this disclaimer now that I'm going into my senior year at UGA, which means that I was accepted in 2017. So whatever year that you are watching this, make sure you are going to the UGA website for any updates or things that may be slightly different from what I'm saying in this video. Now, for the most part, everything I'm saying should be still relevant, but maybe a few dates or something may be different. So make sure you're checking that website for any updates. Also, I wanted to say, in this video, I won't necessarily be doing, you need this exact GPA or this exact test score to get in, but more so I'm going to actually be talking about the application process and what you can expect from it. So I'm done pretty much with the intro. I'm going to get straight into the video. So if this sounds interesting, keep watching. So the first step in order to be accepted into UGA is to actually apply. And UGA does have two applications, one being early action application and the other regular decision. And I'm going to get into both of those applications and what you can expect from those different processes. Now, for the early action application, I actually did not apply early action, but I still know how that process works. So pretty much when it comes to that early action application, those will usually be due around October, even though the applications both open up for regular and early, they open up around September, but that early one will be due in October, sometime in October. So what you can expect from that is they're probably going to ask you, of course, basic information such as your intended major, the classes that you're taking your senior year of high school, etc. But when it comes to them actually reviewing your application, they're strictly looking at numbers. So they're going to be looking at your GPA and your test scores mainly. Now, if I remember correctly, students who did the early action application, they didn't have to do any essay or anything for their application. But students now are saying they had to. So that's definitely one of those things you want to check up on. But regardless, even if they had to, the admissions counselors are strictly looking at your GPA and your test scores when it comes to making the decision for your acceptance. So after you've applied early action, you can expect one of these three decisions, and those are accepted, denied, or deferred. And I'm going to get into what each of those three decisions mean for your application process. So accepted, that's pretty self-explanatory. If you've been accepted for early action, that means that you have been admitted into the university and you don't have to do anything else regarding your application. Pretty much you just need to graduate high school and you're good to go and attend that university or attend UGA in the fall. Denied, that means unfortunately you are done in the application process, so you can't move on to that regular decision or go to waitlist. I believe you can't even apply again until that following fall, maybe the spring. Again, something you want to check up on. And lastly, deferred. If you've been deferred in the early action process, that means that you weren't necessarily accepted nor denied. That just means that the admissions counselors weren't able to accept you or make a decision strictly based on your GPA and test scores. So you have the option of moving to that regular decision application phase, and I'll get into kind of what that means. So moving on to that regular decision application phase, like I said, they do open sometime in September, I believe, but they will be due sometime in January or maybe like around January 15th-ish, somewhere around there. But you can expect to hear back either in February or in March because they do have two phases with giving out those decision letters. And like I said, I did want to give you all like my test scores and GPA from when I was in high school applying. And since I did regular decision, I'll talk about it now. My GPA in high school, like that was years ago. I don't remember the exact number, but it was around like a 3.8, 3.9. Yeah, it was because I had pretty much all A's, so it was somewhere around there. And then my score for the SAT was higher than the ACT, so I did receive, I think, 1190 on my SAT. And this was 1190 out of the 1600. I believe my class, we were the only one who had the option of submitting that old SAT that was out of 2400 or this new one out of 1600. So if you're watching this video, you're probably going to also have to submit that one out of 1600. But yeah, just letting you all know that's for the newer SAT. Also, just keep in mind, again, I applied in 2017. So, those were my scores. It got me in. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be enough to get you in. Just letting you know that. Now, before I get into what you can expect from that regular decision application, I quickly just want to go over the process in those who were deferred in early action and that transition to the regular decision application phase. So like I said earlier, if you did get deferred during that early action application, you do have the option to apply during regular decision. And the way that works is pretty much depending on how much you had to submit during that actual early action application. You may just have to add additional information during that regular decision application phase. So like maybe including the essay portion if you didn't already have to do so, or things like that. So what you can expect from that regular decision application, you're still going to have to submit your transcript and your test scores. And of course, they may still ask for like other information, maybe like your address, your emergency contact, your intended major, things like that. But the three major parts that they're going to ask you for in addition to that, your scores, is going to be the recommendation, your school involvement, and you're going to have that essay portion of the application. Now, since with that regular decision application is a more holistic view, those three items can be very vital to your whole application and can sometimes be a determining factor. So I'm going to give like a little advice when it comes to those three additional items and also what you can expect starting with that recommendation. So for the recommendation, they're going to ask for, I believe, 2. It could be 1. It could be 3. I don't remember. However many it is, just 1, make sure you have the correct amount of recommendations. And also, whoever you're getting to fill out your recommendation on your behalf, make sure you give them ample time to fill out the recommendation, and that it's a personalized recommendation. These admissions counselors, they read recommendations all the time, so they can tell when a recommendation is very generic. You want your recommendation to be very specific to you, which means that you're going to want someone who can speak well on your character as a person. So moving on to that school and community involvement. In the application, they're definitely going to ask you to list out the different extracurriculars that you were involved in at your high school. So you want to not only be able to list out different organizations and clubs, but also your involvement with those different clubs. So if you're on the football team, like were you captain? Don't just say you're in beta club. You don't have to be president, but I'm sure you did something with that organization. Did you help out with an event? Did you, host a community service? Say something more in depth. Now, lastly is that essay portion. And honestly, the essay portion is probably just as important as those transcripts and your test scores. Because with the essay portion, that gets to show how much work and effort did you put into this application. And I actually do remember the essay topics back when I applied. They might change them every year, but if you still want to know. We had 3, but we could choose 2. So the first one was, what is your career goals or interests? The second one was, explain an interesting story about yourself. And then the third one was, if you could take a class your freshman year, what would it be? So I chose the first 2. But with that essay portion, you want to make sure you give yourself ample time to write it and to proofread and have other people review it, just to make sure you don't want your essay to be the last thing you work on. You should be constantly working on that essay because, like I said, that's a very important piece of your application. So the 3 results that you can expect to hear when it comes to that regular decision application is accepted, denied, and waitlisted. And I'm going to get into what each of those 3 decisions mean when it comes to your application. Now, accepted and denied works the exact same way as it did when it came to the early action application, in that accepted, you've been admitted into the university. Denied, you have not. Now, waitlisted is kind of similar to deferred, except there is no next or third application phase. You're pretty much just waiting for the university to contact you regarding your acceptance status. But that's about it regarding the UGA's application process. I hope this video wasn't all over the place and that you do feel a little more comfortable with the actual application process. If you have any additional questions, definitely feel free to comment them down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you with the most accurate information I possibly can. Also, if you are in that UGA application phase or you do plan on applying, I wish you the best of luck, and I thank you so much for watching this video. But until next time.